established folk. Really cool to hear from the Warrington fans in their joy. They were not afraid to rub it in, were they whatsoever? How did you find the day, first of all, at the stadium, and then we'll get on to how you found the game?
Okay. Obviously, you'll have seen from Emma's seen from Instagram anyway. I always try to make the most of my trips to London because I don't go very often. So I always try to do other things around the game, and I'm aware that's not every fan's experience. So when I got there what time was it now? It was getting on a little bit. It was about, I think it was after 2, maybe just after 2. Obviously, Wembley Way was full of people making the most of the sunshine and enjoying a beer or 3. So yeah, there was, as you'd expect, there was lots of backwards and forwards, and Wembley Way was full. It looked busy. Lots of fans mixing as you would always hope to see. So it felt like in my mind, Wembley days are always sunny days, even though that's not actually the case.
Yeah, well, to be fair, I can only think of one that has not been sunny that I've been to, and that was the 2013 Wigan against Hull final when it was absolutely chucking it down. But most of them are sunny celebratory occasions, aren't they? They
do. They certainly feel like that in my mind's eye. So that was great, and that really helped to bolster the atmosphere. In terms of, so I was up in the nosebleed seats in the £20 section. I would argue that £20 for a ticket to 2 games, even if you just stay for 1,
it's not expensive. It's not unattainable prices, is it?
It's not unattainable. This thing about pricing of tickets for the final is not an issue. Let's just get that out of the way. If I'd been organised enough and sorted it out with the Our League, you even got a little bit of discount with the Our League thing as well, so it'd have been even less than 20. So I was surrounded by, even though it was obviously a neutral section because I bought it via the RFL website, there were lots of Wire fans around me, so it was mainly a Wire section. And they were in good spirits, lots of different fans around. Really, really kind of good build-up, and I'm a massive fan of kind of the tradition of Abide With Me and that kind of thing, even though, to be honest, I don't think everyone gets it in the way that I remember it when I first went in the 90s. It definitely didn't feel like everyone was expecting to sing or to get up and all that kind of stuff. That felt a bit weird to me.
That's strange, because I've always felt it did. Like, the occasion did come across and people did expect the cup final hit. I'm not a religious person in any way, any walk of life, but it does get to me, the build up, like you say. So
Abide With Me.
I thought everyone did. I've always experienced it at the cup final that everyone was bought into that kind of nature of the build up.
Okay, well, around me, not everyone was standing. Certainly, not everyone was attempting to sing. So that kind of, I don't know. Maybe that was just an experience of that particular section. But yeah, that was a slight disappointment. But yeah, in terms of everything else was good. Banter in the stand was good. Everyone was pretty well behaved. The only thing that was funny was a couple of rows down from me, there was a guy. Well, there were 2 guys, and one of them was vigorously giving the other one a wedgie. They were both well oiled. Let's put it that way. And it was so bad. He ripped his pants off, and they were distinctly old. They were not a new pair, and he tied it round his head as a bandana. So you see all sorts at Wembley, don't you? But that was probably the most leery bit. Let's put it that way. But yeah, no. In terms of the game, great. For me, Wembley is one of the best stadiums in the world. I think it, of all the other stadiums that I've been to in the UK, I think it's the best. I don't know what your thoughts are about Wembley as a viewing experience.
Modern day Wembley is there's not a bad seat in the house.
No, there isn't.
I've sat in lots of different parts of the ground now, and there's not a bad seat in the house. There's not a bad view in the house. There's not a bad experience, I don't feel, to be had I've lost at Wembley and I've won at Wembley, and I still find it an amazing event and occasion. And I've been to Wembley as a neutral as well, of course. I just love the stadium. Yeah, I think it's a fantastic stadium.
Exactly. I was in the cheapest of the cheap seats, kind of behind the sticks. Not exactly. Not certainly not the premium viewing experience.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. Fantastic leg room. Plenty of fans of different colours and shapes all around the sat around us. Not enough bodies in the ground. Ultimately, 62,000 is not enough. I can't criticise that
because I'm part of the problem myself, having not attended. So I can't really criticise it, but you can criticise it all you want, Alan, because you made the effort. You were there. Yeah,
and I, when people make the arguments about transport issues, I agree with it. I think it's better that it's not over the August bank holiday, because either Euston or King's Cross is unlikely to be completely shut down as it has been the last 2 years. But where there's a will, there's a way. Let's put it that way. I travelled down on Friday night and came back a rather circuitous route Saturday into Sunday. But yeah, if you want to go, you can go, and it didn't cost me any more to do it that way than it did the year before when King's Cross was open. So you can do it if you want to do it. It's just up to you, really.
Yeah, there's lots of other things that people choose to spend their money on now, and then will find any excuse to defend themselves from why they didn't go to any said rugby league game, whether it's a final or just a Thursday night or a Sunday afternoon, or any game that their team participates in. There's lots of other things competing for our money now, which maybe there wasn't necessarily 30 or 40 years ago in the heyday of the Wembley trip. But like you say, if people care enough to criticise the crowds or to come up with excuses for why they don't go, then they should have a look at how they could get there, and maybe put their caring into that.
Yeah, well, that's the kind of pledge that I made to myself at the beginning of the year, that I was going to make sure that I got to as many Challenge Cup games as I could this year, and with a little bit of pre-planning. I freely admit I didn't sort out my final ticket and travel until 4 weeks before, so there isn't really any excuse. If you want to go, you can go, and it doesn't need to cost you a bomb. So yeah. That was a disappointment, but actually I thought the atmosphere in the ground was very good. Lots of noise, lots of
noise. Obviously, with the way that the game went as well, but the noise always seemed to be mostly the Warrington fans, with a few bursts from the St Helens fans. Did it feel like there was a tension among St Helens within the supporting base as well as with the players, because they weren't as loud as the Wire fans?
No, they weren't. They were only really particularly noisy, I felt, when they were a couple of times when they were under pressure, so like dropouts and that kind of stuff. I felt that the noise really built to try to get behind their team. But I did feel, I'm at the other end of the stadium, so you can't really sense it too closely. But they were noticeably quieter from my perspective, and there probably was an element of tension in that quietness, I'd say.
Well, it's fantastic that it was a trouble-free report on the day, based on what the recent experiences have been. Let's talk about the match itself then. And I suppose we start at the start, don't we? A lot of people have talked about the video refereeing and non-video refereeing calls. Let's start with, in the 3rd minute of the game, Saints had all the ball, all the territory. They had a kick that went through underneath the sticks. Morgan Knowles chased the kick down. It seemed improbable that he would even reach the ball, but he appeared to have reached the ball. The referee, Robert Hicks, gave a very confident on-field call of no try. From my perspective, watching live on the television, I thought he'd bounced it and hadn't got it down cleanly inside the pitch on the first view. Of the incident, the live view as it was. What did you make of it? Was there a sense in the stadium that he'd got to it?
Well, so it was coming towards me, so we had a reasonable view, even though it was probably nearly 100 yards away, and it did look like a bounce as well. It looked like a bounce live. So live, it didn't look like. There wasn't much oohing and ahhing around me. It just surprised me that he, at that time in the game where he didn't just think, hang on a minute, I'll just take a look here. It felt like he was trying to set a tone in terms of keeping the game flowing and let me be clear in my decision making, and let's kind of set my stall out.
Yeah.
He's just really unlucky that it was a terrible call.
Well, all the talk has been, hasn't it? All the talk has been about that call since the game. Justin Holbrook, whether prompted or unprompted, has happily talked about it in every interview. As there's all the St Helens fans, as there's everyone on social media supporting of whatever team they support. And as was certainly the talk in the BBC studios before, at halftime and at the end of the game. So. Yeah, the common consensus appears to be that it was the wrong call to not award a try, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, he definitely got the ball down in the field of play. Definitely.
It certainly was the wrong call from Hicks not to review it, like you say. It was it was a close call. Players claim tries all the time that they haven't scored, but it doesn't mean that Morgan Knowles is a Ryan Atkins and didn't think he'd got the ball down. Now, the only in-depth kind of analysis from a refereeing angle that I've seen of this was Ian Smith's Twitter account, the former referee, who made the point that if the ball is bouncing and so not in a player's possession, then the important thing is the downward pressure.
Yeah.
And the argument could be that he didn't have downward pressure because his hand was on the side of the ball when the ball was touching the ground. And further to that argument then brings in the suggestion that he never gained control of the ball, so it wasn't a clean put down, because if he had control of the ball it wouldn't have mattered, but he never gained control of the ball for it to have slid down the side of his hand for when it was touched down, as he never caught it. Sounds complicated, sounds a little bit nitpicky, but I've got to say, every single angle that I saw on the BBC seemed to be from the same side, so there was never clear what the referee saw pictures for me to say for certain that he'd actually cleanly grounded the ball with his hand on top of the ball.
I'm not disagreeing with Ian Smith's analysis because he knows a lot better than me. One thing I do know is if that goes up, if that goes to screen, that's given. 100 times out of 100, if that goes to screen, we've seen it from Super League week in, week out, that try is given. Without question.
Yeah, that
try is given.
That is the way it's been given.
That's the way it's been going. We haven't had
the ball when it's on the floor.
We haven't had pernickety arguments.
Wouldn't they?
Yeah, we haven't had pernickety arguments about has he gained control of the ball. We don't argue that.
Although, if we cast our minds back, Ryan Hall in the Four Nations some years ago, when was that? 2014, was it? I don't know. A long time ago. Now, there was the Ryan Hall grounded a ball on the side of the ball, not on the top of the ball, and it was never given by the video referee at that time, who had a clean shout at the video referee as well. It wasn't a live call, one way or the other, if I remember right. Anyway,
yeah, but that was wrong anyway as well. But yeah.
If we say that one was wrong, we have to say this one was wrong. I agree with that.
I think this was wrong. I have to say I agree with John's argument about the second Saints call, when Ben Murdoch-Masila kind of
Right, you see.
Made the ball come out. I'm not going to say he ripped at it. He